Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to anyone that might be out there, and welcome to another edition of the Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past Randomizer Spoiler Log Tournament. Today we are featuring Amarith and PorgCollector in the 1-0 bracket. My name is Quizbowl, and joining me today is my co-commentator, Professor Renderer. Professor, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Just chilling out here. Ready to watch some spoiler logs action.
Yes, definitely. So, spoiler alert: the old man was a ghost the whole time. Oh wait, no, that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about today is the runners. You'll see their timers are negative, counting up right now. They've been given the spoiler log to see that they're about to run, and so they have had the last 15 minutes to study it, learn where all the item locations, all the goodies are, and decide how they're going to attack this seed now knowing all that information. So 15 minutes, it goes by real fast, and it's kind of hard to get a cobble a route together, but these runners are brave runners that are going to be doing it for you and your entertainment tonight.
Oh, for sure. And I know Amarith pretty well. He's been helping out with the Gumbo Podcast Mentor tournaments. PorgCollector, someone like Amarith.
All right, we are about to get underway here. You can see their timers counting down, and we are off. Both runners electing to start in Link's house, and for very good reason. There's a sword right there in the first chest.
It's always nice to have a sword in your in the very start of the game, just to make sure you can slash that stuff and all that goodness.
Yep, definitely. And of course, both runners now making their way up to Hyrule Castle. Obviously, with the sword, if they needed to, they could go deeper in and defeat any enemies that are in their way. But I think right now, both of the runners are interested in what the uncle has, which is a collection of 10 bombs. So that'll be nice to not have to worry about it. PorgCollector going ahead and saving and quitting out, but Amarith is heading into the castle. Let's see what she's got going up here. All right, Porg saved and quit back to the sanctuary, going over to Kakariko. Amarith doing the blind dark crossplay here.
With a sword, you can hold it out, and you have a bit of an idea of where you are in the dark world, in the dark rooms. So it's always nice to have that as a little indicator of where you are.
Yep, and she's in the room. Let's see if we can get the chest in there, using the bomb there as a nice little waypoint. And we have a flute.
I liked what Amarith did to do this, because that way she can get the flute activated and at the same time get the stuff that's in Kakariko.
Doesn't look like we're quite going to Kakariko yet on her side. We're heading down over to the dam, while PorgCollector is now looting Blind's hideout. Find the magic cape and Quake. And an extra heart to boot. I guess now would be a good time to mention that the spoiler log also contains information that tells you where the crystals are, where the pendants are, and what medallions are required to open your dungeons. So our tracker has already populated that information down there, because obviously our runners are never going to check their map for that. And we can see that Misery Mire is a crystal and does indeed require that Quake.
typically one of the first things you want to do is figure out what those crystals and pendants are, along with the medallions. That way you can formulate a route around that.
Yeah, we have a hammer on PorgCollector side, while we have the hook shot on Amarith's side. And it looks like Porg, we're having just a little issue with the stream, but we'll get that back here pretty soon. And I guess also worth mentioning that the lamp was in that mini Moldorm cave. Ah, here's PorgCollector again. Heading straight for the race game. So certainly one of the nice things about the spoiler log, you know exactly what's going to be on the sledge, and you know whether it's going to be used for a lot. And behold, we have the ice rod. Definitely not trash this seed.
Oh, for sure. And that's because, well, as you see, there is Turtle Rock as a crystal, and we definitely need that ice rod to even clear the boss.
Alright, looks like PorgCollector heading down, kind of doing what Amarith did a little earlier, while Amarith kind of goes back and cleans up what PorgCollector's already done. So we'll be seeing them kind of retrace each other's steps for a little while, but we'll see where they diverge after this. Didn't mention this on Amara's side, but there was a blue mail there in the dam, so having quick access to some extra defense is always really helpful in these seeds. The defense upgrade effectively doubles the amount of hits that you can take, at least most times of damage.
And most of the time during these spoiler races, you're going to see the runners run with mostly low amounts of health. So picking up the blue mail over on Amarith's side is a good way to at least protect yourself from the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, and something we missed on PorgCollector's side because of the little skipping of the internet there. Half Magic was on the bottle vendor, and so it was. That's a nice safety to have, and I think both runners wanted to make sure that they had 100 rupees to pay him off for that nice little bonus.
And that's especially true because when you're doing these races, you want to also have enough rupees to pay off the various things you need to do. Like, if you were going to go into pod, then you need the 110 rupees to get into pod. If you found something like a safety, and you like in the case of Porg and Amarith, half magic being on the bottle vendor is about 100. Is your 100 rupees? Kind of things you need to know when you're doing these spoiler races.
Yeah, and heaven forbid if there's something on Zora, you're gonna have to find 500 rupees somewhere along the way, and so you usually try and find a couple of those 300 drops. Amarith getting a little bullied there by the sky cabbages. Again, only 4 hearts, and that's one of the few things that doesn't care what kind of armor you have. They will do a full heart damage each time, so I'm gonna give this another go. And we also failed to mention that there was a glove there on the old man, and so we're getting a little close to our Dark World access. We're just missing that pearl. And I think it's at this point we're kind of seeing the benefit that Amarith has now because of that early play to go get the flute. By navigating that dark room, she was able to go ahead and activate the flute in one go, whereas PorgCollector has to make a second trip into Kakariko. It's going to cost a little extra time, but we'll see. We'll see if that makes a huge difference later in the seed.
And why would that be the case?
Well, so Amarith had just a few more synergies with the way that she routed this out. So doing everything in Kakariko, there's nothing left that Amarith has to do, and anytime that she wants to, she can just come straight back to Kakariko. Because the two biggest mobility items in the game are the flute and the boots. You can see now PorgCollector basically doing everything that Amarith just did, just a couple minutes behind. Amarith now climbing the Tower of Hera. Yes, that is a shame. We can't do a boots setup on the Hera pot, and I can tell you from experience, the bootsless setup for Hera pot is significantly harder.
And how do you do the bootsless Hera pot setup?
Yeah, so for bootsless on the Hera pot, the probably the best way to do it is a bomb jump. Well, actually, the only way to do it, really. And there's probably about 4 or 5 combinations that work, so you just kind of have to commit to memorizing one of them. And it's a little awkward. You got to place the ball in one place and navigate to another place. PorgCollector getting bullied by these dead racks. Careful, down to 1 heart. Makes it to the east side. Meanwhile, Amarith up here taking on Moldorm, the Trolldorm.
The hammer in hand, all it really takes is 3 whacks of a tail, and she will clear out Moldorm in just a bit.
But Trolldorm living up to the name. Yeah, one of the drawbacks of using the hammer is you can't hold the sword out in front of you as kind of a buffer to keep you from falling off the ledge. So if you take a hit near the ledge, you more than likely are going to fall off. PorgCollector here in the Paradox Cave. I don't believe we saw Amarith clean out these particular chests, so I think there might be something here Porg's interested in. Yep, and Amarith has claimed the first blood here, getting the Tower of Hera crystal. Alright, PorgCollector clearing out Paradox Cave. Not entirely sure what he was going for there, just because I think we missed a couple of the chests there, so I'm not sure what was in that top left. Yeah, but if it indeed was mostly just money, then PorgCollector might be looking for some extra cash to either buy some safeties later in the form of potions, or maybe we're actually going to be paying off Zora today. And Amarith has located the pearl.
So that is Dark World access for Amarith.
And she is immediately going to head over to the Hype Cave area. All right, chat, what kind of Hype Cave do you think we're going to have today? Oh, we got a piece of heart, a full heart, a piece of heart, a piece of heart, and a bee in a bottle. So mostly a safety hype cave today, but that's probably a good play there. There's a full heart and several pieces in there. So now Amarith went into Dark World with 4 hearts and is now emerging with 6.
It makes good sense for Amarith to go and pick that up, as earlier in the game we only had those 4 hearts that we mentioned before. And seeing that the Hype Cave had that lot of safeties in hand, Amarith thinking, hey, when we get to Dark World, we may as well pick up the safeties while we're there as we get to enter it. And as a result, Amarith has now 6, like you had mentioned.
Yeah, but look over on Porg's side. Porg has decided to jump into the Dark World instead from the Village of Outcast side. So let's see what's caught his eye on the spoiler log. Just a few rupees there in the chest game. Looks like Porg heading into Thieves Town. Well, Amarith checked the pyramid ledge, got a few rupees, but I think the real play here, I think Amarith is heading for something on the catfish. And the catfish has for us today a fetch quest.
This will be interesting. Perhaps there might have been something that Amarith had found from off of a fetch quest that caught her eye.
Yeah, meanwhile, we got PorgCollector trying to make their way through Thieves Town here. Right now, still rocking the 4 hearts that we were mentioning earlier, and down to 1.5 hearts of health, so having to be very careful, especially as we approach the Hellway. Now, he did pick up the magic cape, so that's something that he's got in his back pocket that could help out. One hit, and it took him down. But Amarith dug up the real prize. That was the Master Sword there in the flute spot.
Always nice to have another sword in your back pocket.
Now, in most of these spoiler races, runners are going to really want to get up to Tempered Sword. The power increase from Master Sword to Tempered Sword is much more significant than the increase from Tempered to Butter. So they're going to try and look through the spoiler log and usually be looking for the 3 most convenient progressive swords in the seed.
And previously, when Amarith had done the Boulder fight, you saw that she had used the hammer to take down Muldorn, and that's because the hammer does the same amount of damage as a tempered sword would.
So yeah, that brings up another route divergence. PorgCollector did not do Tower of Hera, and that's one of those interesting things that you could do here in Spoiler Log. Because you know whether or not Tower of Hera has something you need, you can actually save it to the end if you really want to, and I think that's what PorgCollector is opting to do right now. And so perhaps he'll have possession of the Tempered Sword and won't have to worry about as many Muldorn falls. But Amarith now diving into Thieves Town, hot on PorgCollector's heels. the Maiden's Room is usually the room you want to try and get to here in Thieves Town. There's a couple of heart refills that are nice and handy there that has gotten PorgCollector back up to 3 hearts. And we are going to the big chest. It looks like it was just a small key today. So I think PorgCollector may have just miscounted a couple of items here in the spoiler log, thinking that was an item. Could also be a little bit of muscle memory as well. Sometimes it's hard to tell yourself don't do that chest when every other rando seed you've ever done tells you to go do it. Oh, and I think we found the issue. Porg neglected to go blow the hole in the attic to start the blind fight. Yeah, see, and that's another trap that you can fall into is if you look in the spoiler log and you say, "Oh, the attic doesn't have a chest that I need," you wouldn't go up to the attic, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to set PorgCollector back just a little bit. Taking the death hit there, I don't know if that was intentional or if that was just accidental, but it's going to reset the dungeon. It's because we were seeing Porg was having some issues with the crystal switch pegs being up and down. So he's going to lose a little time here. We'll see if we can make it up a little bit later.
Mentioned this. I may have been wrong or may have missed it, but the big key chests that also have the cancer mark.
Ah, yes, you are right. So that was a oversight on my part. I apologize. Definitely a necessary item for this seed.
And that is true because that is necessary to get through Misery Mire and Turtle Rock.
Another thing, it's interesting that the Cane of Samaria has become a lot more useful in these spoil log races, especially since the last tournament, now that we've discovered a couple of new glitches that you can perform with them. Ooh, Porg taking another death there in the Hellway. So the important thing for PorgCollector now is to kind of take a deep breath, not get tilted, just focus on finishing the dungeon. But Chad, if you want to give PorgCollector a little bit of energy, I'm sure he'd appreciate it right now. Especially since part of the spoiler log tournament, the runners are allowed to listen in and be in the channel. All right, looks like PorgCollector is going to go ahead and nope out the dungeon for now. Just save it for a later time until we have a couple extra hearts. Meanwhile, Amarith sees the blind pun, starts the blind fight. That was a very, very nice blind fight. That was basically to the script all the way till pretty much the last hit. So very hard to do, especially when we're on low hearts. Of course, we always had the cape as a backup, but didn't even need to pull it out.
Yeah, and when we mention a script, every time you start the fight, well, for the first time, if you had not died, during the fight, it will always be the same pattern if you know how to do it, because this fight is entirely scripted.
So here we see Amarith digging. I suspect here that she has 108 rupees, and you need 110 to get into pod. I think we're trying to find a couple of rupees, but instead we're getting arrows and large bomb drops. Full magic? Like everything except rupees. Now here's an interesting item. So we see the magic powder here on the cape cave. So that might have been something that played into the decision of these runners both to pick up the cape in the hopes of being able to pick up this powder later. Now this powder itself does open up another fetch quest, so we still don't even know if maybe the Mad Batter has something for us.
The way that the the powder could be a vital thing is in the form of safety. You are able to powder bunny beams that are stationary, as well as anti-fairies, and that will turn them into fairies that you can pick up, or if you have the bug net, catch them and put them into a bottle.
Yeah, and there's a couple places where it's even more handy to go ahead and powder those anti-fairies. The key place that comes to my mind is Turtle Rock. There's a group of 4 that always seem to get in your way, and being able to powder them out of your way is great.
It's a
Amarith.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Just Amarith still getting trolled by this one single rupee. There we go. But yeah, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was going to say too that it's about those 4 anti-fairies in Turtle Rock. It's a really good health boost when you get them all, or if you want to at least powder half of them and then get the other half and put them into a bottle. That's also a good way to have a safety on hand.
Absolutely. Well, Porg made it into Palace of Darkness, is working his way around the arena, but now Amarith is in a particular situation. So it costs 10 rupees to get Kiki to start following you, and then 100 to open pod. But if you take damage anywhere on the walk, starting basically right now, Kiki will run away and need an extra 10 rupees. Be very careful. All right, she makes it. Oh, I was about to say, PorgCollector very low, but a clutch fairy coming in from the mini Helmosaur there. And look at that, we see some Titan's mitts over there on PorgCollector's side. Interesting now, Porg has decided to go ahead and save and quit out immediately after picking up those mitts. Now, you can't finish pod right now the way it is, because you need the bow to finish it off. Although lack of bow is not going to stop Amarith here. She's going to go ahead and, well, I take it back. Yeah, it was looking there that Amarith was getting ready for what we call a potion glitch, but I think the bottle that's in her possession right now only has a bee in it, which is not going to be able to do a potion glitch as much as you would like to.
Yeah, and that was picked up in Hype Cave alongside the other heart containers and pieces of hearts that Amarith decided to take a stop into when she entered the dark
Looks like Amarith is interested in pretty much the same item here. Heading down to the basement, gonna pick up those Titan's mitts and an extra key to boot. And I think she wanted to also grab some more rupees, get her money back from Kiki. Oh, now here's an interesting play. Amarith going ahead and picking up the big key there from the Harmless Hallway room in an attempt to make the return trip a little easier. Meanwhile, on PorgCollector's side, we see that he's gone up here to Hookshot Cave, which was locked behind the Titansmiths, and finds the bow. And the fire rod.
So that now that lets us clear Eastern Palace and Pod that they couldn't clear originally over in that Pod area.
All right, PorgCollector is heading over to Spike Cave. Looks like we're going to run the gauntlet here using that magic cape.
With the half magic in hand, it's very much a cakewalk. You don't have to worry about running low on magic, especially with the heart situation.
And Porg has decided to go into Spike Cave to get an extra heart, which is probably a good call. That increases the health by 25%. Oh yeah, and chat pointing out that we're basically a book and ether away from Go Mode, or book or mirror away from Go Mode. Because the only things we need now for the rest of this seed is the ether to open up Turtle Rock, and some way to get into Desert, and that would either be the book to get in the front door, or the mirror to get in the back door.
If I was playing in this race right now, I would love to have the mirror, because I would love to get into the back as quickly as possible and get that big key, get onto that Lambo fight.
And so that brings up an interesting point. If the mirror just so happens to be in an inconvenient location for these runners, it does make the rest of the seed much more difficult. You see now that PorgCollector, without the mirror in hand, is having a save and quit to do the Smith sequence. You'll also have to do a save and quit with Pod Eastern, whereas if you had the mirror, you'd be able to just mirror back and do them both in one go. And also the play I was mentioning earlier about saving Tower of Hera for last, you would normally want to just mirror back from in front of Ganon's tower. Might not have that option. And Amarith looks like setting up a fake flipper here. Two places that you can go here with the fake flippers. You can go check the Hobo or go up to Zora area with that. Or this could be a play trying to get into Ice Palace. There we go, we got the glitch activated. Now Amarith is swimming without the flippers. And this looks like a nice play. Now it's a pendant dungeon, so we didn't have to come here.
And within a spoiler tournament or a spoiler log race, we don't care if it's a pendant or not. If there is something of importance there, they will go for it.
And welcome to everyone rating from SpeedGaming Espanol and SpeedGaming Portuguese. We are in the middle of a spoiler log race here between Amarith and PorgCollector. Amarith has a crystal lead at the moment, but both are generally in the same vicinity of item collection anyway. PorgCollector just opting to save a few things for later on in the run. And we see Amarith now trying one of the new glitches I mentioned earlier with the red cane called Icebreaker. So yeah, that's how it works. Is you put a cane block down, you do some fancy movements, and you just walk through walls.
And how exactly does that work?
Well, the technical explanation is actually there is a mechanic in the game where if you're inside the door, when you press up or down, the game forces you to go out the door further until you're officially out the door. So by putting that block there, you're actually extending where the game thinks that door is. And so if you press up or down, the game's trying to force you out the door, even though you're already outside the door, and it just forces you over that brick.
Oh, very nice tech to know.
And I think we see what Amarith was interested there. That was the mirror there deep in Ice Palace.
So with that magic mirror in hand, you can now we have a lot more. Make this a lot more quicker. Kind of like what you had mentioned previously. We can do Pod Eastern all in one go. The Smith chain very quickly. You don't have to do it all these save and quits.
Yeah, we see Porg here kind of getting on the latter half of the Smith chain here. It looks like he was trying to route in a catfish check along the way, and there's that ether we were looking for. So between the two runners, we're basically in go mode. Just one, we need to switch items from one to the other.
So with that mirror in hand for on Amarith's side, that actually makes that play for the Smith chain a lot more quicker, like we had mentioned previously. So Amarith will have a bit more, a better time doing this chain and not having to do any of this save and quits.
Looks like she's taking the opportunity here to go into Saha's closet. And it looks like another health run here. And it looks like Amarith getting ready to do that Pod Eastern combo, made so much easier by having the mirror.
That is very much correct, Quizball. This will let Amarith clear out Pod and Eastern all in one go, and it will be very nice to get that out of the way.
All right, PorgCollector also interested in picking up that shovel, which will lead to another sword. Seeing some interesting discussion there in chat. So yes, technically the flippers were required to get the mirror as Amarith has. But just remember, out there somewhere is the Book of Medora. If the runners feel like that might have been the faster way to finish this seed off, maybe they could go for it. And yes, to answer the question in chat, yes, the game does consider using the mirror to get into Desert Palace. So it's an either-or scenario. Either you need to have access to Titansmiths, Moon Pearl, and the mirror. Actually, you don't need the Moon Pearl, sorry. Just Titansmiths and the mirror to mirror back to Desert Palace, or the book to get in the front door. Oh, and welcome to all of our friends from SpeedGaming 2. We've got a spoiler log race heading here for you with Amarith and PorgCollector. Amarith has pulled into a little bit of a lead, getting into a dungeon rush mode here, having gone into a pendant ice palace to pick up the mirror, whereas it looks like PorgCollector is still yet to make that play. So here we are in the King Helmosaur fight. Amarith using those sword buffers to extend the hitbox of the hammer, so those 17 hammer hits are a little easier. Machine gunning the arrows into that jewel in the middle of Helmosaur's head to finish the fight off. Yep, that too. It does help you stay facing forward, but it also does extend that hitbox just a couple extra pixels.
I did pick up a shield from off of Helmosaur, but those shields don't normally do much outside of just deflecting certain things as you go a bit higher up on the shields, because those are progressive.
Yeah, that is correct. So the next level of shield, the fire shield, blocks a few fireballs. That helps on a couple of fights, maybe the blind fight here, as we see PorgCollector coming back into Thieves Town to finish what he started. Using that cape to traverse the hellway. So the ice rod was actually located at the race game. And that does bring up a good point. I don't think Amarith has made it there yet.
It could be interesting to for Amarith, because
Alright, but Amarith heading into the last couple rooms here, Eastern Palace, getting ready for that Armos fight. PorgCollector gonna have to go back down to the basement. Unfortunately, the maiden has returned to her cell, so we're gonna have to go and collect her again. Setting up for the nice quick kill here. Almost just got away at the last second there, but gets it done. Picks up another crystal. That brings her crystal count up to 4.
now the reason why Amarith would have wanted to do the quick kill is that way you can prevent the last Armos Knight from getting angry and having to shoot 3 more arrows into it. And that's because how you set up the quick kill is that you will shoot 5 arrows into the right, the first top right Armos Knights. Then you want to go up into one of the corners and shoot down onto the remaining Armos Knights. And that will be enough as the one from the top right is making the way towards the bottom. You'll be able to kill them at one fell swoop without having to get the last Armos Knight angry.
Yeah, and you have a very limited time to make that last arrow connect before it does actually get angry and refill its health. And yes, that is indeed PorgCollector's first crystal. Unfortunately, not able to finish Thieves Town the first time through, but finally on the board and ready to go and rush the remaining dungeons here. Alright, and there's the ice rod for Amarith. Alright, PorgCollector ducking in here to Sahasrara's hut. I think both runners reading the spoiler log noted that there was a full heart and 2 pieces in here, and it'd be a good place to get an extra bit of safety. Amarith now going to complete her version of the Smith sequence, this time aided by the mirror.
And right away, you can tell that it's a lot more quicker than how PorgCollector had done the Smith sequence, because with the mirror in hand, that makes things a lot more quicker. You can get the rest of the Smith sequence down, and that will lead Amarith to where she needs to go.
Alright, and at 45 minutes, 35 seconds, Amarith is officially in go mode with that Ether Medallion.
So now the route is quite straightforward from this point on for Amarith.
Indeed, we just go mode Misery Mire here, we mirror back, we go mode the Desert Palace, and we head up to Turtle Rock. Now, it's important to note, it is a Master Sword Silverless Go mode, so we are going to be keenly interested in either trying to find the second progressive bow somewhere in the sea to upgrade to silvers, or finding another sword so that way we can get up to tempered and at least make the sword spins a little bit easier for the Ganon fight.
Yeah, as it stands currently, you would need a total of 52 spins in order to kill Ganon in the Master Sword Silverless version.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons that upgrading to temperate saves so much time. So you get to take away 24 of those spins right off the bat and replace them with slashes. And then the last 24 spins get replaced by 12 spins. So it is a significant time save if you, unless it's like on pedestal or something.
And that is something that none of the runners will ever bother to grab if there is a sword on the pedestal. Because, like you had mentioned, Quizball, earlier about these swords, they are only looking for swords that are in the most convenient spots for them.
All right, PorgCollector cleaning up the Armos Knight fight there, and that gives him his second crystal. Yeah, I'm not sure what Amarith was trying to do with that ice rod there. I think that might have just been a miss menu. That is one of the interesting things about Randomizer is you usually have a random set of items, and so definitely one of the key skills in Randomizer here is being able to menu around weird menus that you're not used to. Although,
go ahead.
Although she has set up the spooky fire rod glitch there to hit these crystal switches without being near them, so that might have been part of the setup, and I'm just not familiar with it.
And the spooky action from a distance glitch is very, very technical, and I don't really understand it mostly.
Yeah, chat calling me out on this. That ice rod shot was intentional. That was part of doing the spooky action glitch when you don't have the boots. So thank you for keeping me honest, chat. Marth putting that cape to good use here on the Vitreous fight, just using it to avoid all damage while taking out the itty bitty bitty committee. And using the last 4 arrows to finish the fight off. Yeah, so speaking of bootsless things, one item that we have not seen this entire seed is the boots. So generally speaking, runners are going to be really keen to get their hands on those boots as soon as possible, especially once they find out where they are. The fact that neither of these runners has gone to a location specifically to pick up the boots probably tells us that they're in a place that's really trolly today.
And yeah, those boots are very nice to have. For zipping around Hyrule, cuts down on a lot of the time that you would typically do for walking.
Looks like we see chat kind of speculating on the various places the boots could be. We as commentators do actually know where the boots are located, but we do try and keep tight-lipped about some of these item locations when feasible here, just because the runners are allowed to watch the restream, and so we don't want to try and accidentally influence the race. But once we start getting into the later parts of the seed, we'll dish on where some of these juicy items are. Alright, Amarith heading through the back of Desert Palace here. PorgCollector going through the back of Pod now. Again, you'll notice there the influence that the mirror had on Amarith's routing here versus PorgCollector. PorgCollector having to do Eastern first and then go find a portal and come back to Pod, whereas Amarith was able to do a mirror, which was a little bit faster.
Yeah, it does show the benefits of having a mirror for those particular situations.
That was an excellent fire rod kill there from Landmola's. 6 shots and done. All right, that's 6 crystals, so I think it's about time that Amarith heads up the mountain to get to Turtle Rock.
And from then on, as soon as Amarith is done with that, we'll see Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, we looked at so PorgCollector went into to pod there, and it looks like he neglected to route the big key in there. And it looks like PorgCollector has officially forfeit based off of that. So, you hate to see it in here, but it's it definitely is getting frustrating here, especially with some of the things. So we'll see if as Amarith here gets ready to go to Turtle Rock, we'll see if we want to get PorgCollector in here for a quick interview. Okay, and we are now joined by PorgCollector. Oh man, GG's to you. I know that was a tough one, huh?
Yeah, I'm not sure what I did, but I somehow managed to initiate a hard console reset and lost the crystal I got, and I already knew I was way behind.
Oh man, I didn't even realize that as well. So yeah, I'm looking at your menu now, and yes, indeed, you no longer have the Eastern Palace crystal. So,
Yep.
oh man, that is a tough break there. So, I was thinking it was just a combination of just a little bit of tilt and not having the big key there in Palace of Darkness. Was that part of the reason there?
So there was definitely a bit of tilt because I realized halfway through I misrouted my route, realizing I had to dip into pod to get the Titan's Mitts, and I couldn't do what I wanted to do up on Death Mountain before that. And
yeah.
so I was tilted from that, and the extra deaths to Blind and his dungeon that were unnecessary. And I knew going up against Amarith that I was just going to be behind at that point, and the hard reset of my console and not a save and quit like I had intended, I was like, well, I'm done. This is it.
Oh man, well, sorry to hear that. So now that it's not going to spoil too much, I have a suspicion on what you were trying to do with your route there. Were you trying to do this mirrorless?
I was, yes.
Okay, yeah, that was an interesting thing about this particular seed here. We'll go ahead and spoil now that the book was actually hiding out in Misery Mire. And so your intent was to go ahead and pick that up from Misery Mire when you got there, and then go ahead and do Desert afterward.
Yep,
And that was yeah, and I noted when I was looking at the spoiler log that runners could go either way with it. They could take the dive into Ice Palace and try and make up the time later by having the mirror, or opt to go ahead and try and do the whole seed mirrorless. So I thought that was an interesting way, and to see both of the runners trying opposite routes there, I was keen to see what would happen. It's just unfortunate what happened. Anything else that strikes you about this spoiler log that was a bit trolly, perhaps?
The location of all the swords. The swords were a nightmare.
Yeah, we're about to see one, I think, from Amara's side, but the last one, I don't mind spoiling. That was on Argus, right?
Correct. And the booths were also in Swamp Palace.
Yes, and so Amarith will be walking to victory because it is very clear that she will never set foot into Swamp Palace.
Absolutely.
As we see now, her trying to place a bomb there at the wall that you'd normally like to bonk against.
Yep.
Yeah, so definitely, an interesting from a routing perspective. So, how do you feel about just that 15 minutes that you get to route these things? Is that you feel like the time just flies by?
It definitely flies fast. I think any more, and that would be too much time, and any less would be too little. I think 15 minutes is really well tuned for the nature of at least an open mode randomizer. And it does, however, lend an issue where one mistake and you've ruined your ability to compete.
Yes, definitely does take a good amount of practice and skill to try and route these out. And I commend you on putting together a pretty good route and even taking it so far as you were able to kind of pivot there midstream and do an okay job of keeping up with Amarith there. So it was just, I think, some of those deaths in Thieves Town that were really the big time losses there.
Absolutely, yeah. I watched Amarith's run from last week, and I knew she was decently skilled, and any mistakes in my execution would likely cost me the race. And after the couple of deaths in Thieves Town, I knew I was behind, and then the loss of a crystal with the console reset, I knew there was no catching up.
All right. Well, again, sorry to hear that things didn't work out so great for you, but. You're going to move to the 1-1 bracket next time, so you're not out of this by a long shot. You still have some opportunities here to come back and perhaps make it on to the next stage of the tournament. And for that, I wish you luck.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if you want to just hang out here, we're going to go ahead and call the rest of Amarith's seed here because there are a couple of interesting things that we need to do here, especially as we get into Ganon's Tower. Because she is currently taking on Trinex, and I think we popped a blue potion there because we did run out of magic.
Show the reason why you would want to succeed is magic combinations. And also especially storyline. Get magic. This is health during this race. You would want to have some safety
And finally, there's the third sword.
So at least we will have a Soul's Hunt.
Yes, but the good news is we'll have Tempered in there. But yeah, that is another trolley element of the seed there that we didn't get to chat too much with PorgCollector about was the fact that your third sword was on Trinex, so you're basically forced into doing a hammer Trinex unless you were wanting to go ahead and go into Swamp Palace to claim an extra sword. All right. Oh, I wanted to get something going here. So normally we do a big key guessing game at this point. Usually it's numbers, but that's kind of pointless here. So I want chat to give me locations. Give me the specific name of a chest somewhere in Ganon's Tower where you think that big key is located. All right, that's interesting. Now, I've spoiled myself on this location, so I will abstain from voting here. I see some good guesses there in chat, so we're going to start here. Obviously not on the torch, otherwise Amarith would have routed those boots in. So here's kind of the first real collection of checks here. Amarith heading in here to Dark Magician's room. nothing. Looks like mainly was came in there for that extra key. So what could we be needing that for? Well, it looks like the double fire bar room is out, as she walked right by it. Here we are in the fire snake room. Is it here? Nope, just the map. Oh, looks like we're opening up the randomizer room. We got some blue goo. Hey, bottom right of randomizer room.
If that's sent to you in the form of that blue potion, Amarith is going to start climbing up GT.
Yeah, I don't think anyone said bottom right of random room, but I will give honorable mentions to Irche and Petatusite in chat who said random room, but just the wrong chest. So imaginary points to you and a lifetime supply of rando seeds to boot. Two very good mimic rooms there, showing off some bow skills. Down to 2.5 hearts. I would not blame her if she wanted to go into the refill room coming up here, just past the cannonball run. Ah, but of course, the way to get over there is to bonk against those blocks, so I guess it's not an option. Very nice gauntlet so far, hasn't taken any damage. Well, I will commend Amarith for that gauntlet right there. So going through the entire gauntlet, only taking 2 hearts of damage, that takes some good skill there. So props to you on that.
Yeah, let's see. That shows how good both of these runners are at this game, despite all the odds.
Alright, now we get to some of the favorite rooms in here. This is so satisfying to just put out a cane block and just defeat these Wizrobes in one foul swoop.
Personally, one of my favorite set of rooms in the game.
Alright, lighting these torches here. Alright, looks like we're not in any danger of despawning the tower. bit of a glitch there. If you go up those stairs at the moment the door in the previous room shuts, it'll actually despawn the entire tower, and you are very sad when that happens.
And that includes Moldorm, and if you decide to hover over it, it also counts as added 2 as all sprites have despawned, and you would have to mirror out and start the climb all over again.
But here we go, Moldorm 2. You can see much easier now with the Tempered Sword in her possession. And Moldorm's just giving us a nice top off of health there with one more heart container to make it a full 10. And it looks like people are in chat are very interested in knowing where the silvers are. I think by now it's probably safe to go ahead and spoil it, especially since it won't be giving her opponent any additional help at this point. Silvers are very close to Ganon. Nice triple there from Amarith.
And how close was that?
Well, they're in the pyramid. But Amarith with an excellent 3-2-1 Aga 2 fight. Probably a little upset that she just missed the double triple there. Yeah, and especially since our 5-6 crystals today were Misery Mire and Turtle Rock, it would require a dip down the mountain here. I guess technically she could do it right this second if she wanted to go to the bomb shop right now. But we got pigs to slay. Dropping into the fight. Quick reminder to eat your Weetabix. Already to phase 2. And here's phase 3. Already, Amarith using excellent use of that cape there to dodge those fire bats, conserve health for phase 4. Lots of teleports here, but here we go. That's the last one. We're going to move on. Gets the torch glitch there. If you light the left torch after it goes out, but before the right one goes out, the right one will never go out.
And it makes the Civilist fights a lot to work with, as opposed to having it without the torch glitch.
Yep, and under the right set of circumstances, you can actually use the fire rod to relight that left torch and potentially get triple hits out of here. We're gonna see her try and go for it. There we go. That'll do. Oh, that last one just missed, but if it had connected, that would have been a triple. So it should be just a couple hits away. There it is. Get your GGs in the chat. As Amarith crosses the finish line with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 27 minutes, 25 seconds. Subtracting the 15 minutes off of that gives you what her timer reads right now at 1:12. So GG's. We'll see if we can get her in here for an interview. And it looks like we already are joined by Amarith here, Amarith, excuse me, for the interview. GG.
GG. You were correct the first time. It's Amarith.
Oh. I've constantly
All
said
right.
called you as Amarith, not Amarith.
A lot of it's fine. It's like one of those either ors.
Okay, I thought the first time I calmed for you, I thought you said it was the opposite way, so now I feel really bad.
Nah, I don't feel bad. It's fine. GG, so thank you.
All right, but so what were your initial thoughts on that seed there?
It was a bit all over the place, just trying to figure out like how does the Dark World work? Because I was like looking at it like, okay, the gloves are all over the place. Hammer is easily accessible. Where's the Death Mountain access? I was like, oh, Dark Cross. Okay.
Yeah, I would say that the seed had you running all over the place, but this seed didn't have you running anywhere, did it?
Yeah, no, not with those boots in Swamp Palace.
Yes, that's right. So obviously a place that you were never interested in going to.
No, not unless there was something else there. But I was like, if the book was there, but I was like, book is in Misery Mire for desert access, or I could go to Ice Palace. And I was like, Ice Palace seems a little quicker.
Yeah, and that was something we were chatting a little bit with PorgCollector when we had him in the interview a little earlier. So there were two kind of thought processes having we were reviewing this spoiler log seed. You could either dip into ice to grab that mirror and try and make things a little faster on that end in exchange for the time loss at the front end, or try and go entirely mirrorless by pulling that book out of Misery Mire. So, is there a reason that you decided on the mirror over the book route?
I figured having to double dip pod anyway to go get the gloves in order to go get the bow, it'd be better to get the mirror, and then that would afford me the trip that I did into Zasha's closet to grab all that extra health if I wanted it, or like if I really needed it and had the time. There was another armor upgrade in K45, and I was like, okay, the mirror could be worth it if I'm looking like, if it's close, but it's like I could use that little bit of extra safety.
All right, I got you. That's so that's probably a good routing decision on your part. Any other routing decisions that you may have gone either way on?
I realized that after Thieves Town, or before Thieves Town, I should have gone and grabbed the Ice Rod. Because on the return, after getting the Titan's Mitts, I could have had everything that I needed to do up on the mountain and get Turtle Rock out of the way, I think. And I could have saved a couple of minutes.
Okay, but you were aware it was there the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I'm sitting here in the booth and I'm saying, oh yeah, chat was asking where the ice rod was, and I said, oh yeah, the ice rod's over on Race Game, and then almost immediately you started heading that way, so I was getting a little concerned.
No, I knew it was there. It was just like, oh man, I should have gotten it earlier, but I was too excited to get the flute going. I was like, I'll just pick it up later on my next trip.
Oh yes, that was another routing divergence between yourself and PorgCollector. So you were willing to brave the dark cross room without the lamp, whereas Porg went ahead and got the lamp. So I think you got a little extra synergies there, but in the end, it wound up only being a couple of minutes.
A little comfortable just because there was the 10-pack of bombs on Uncle, so I was like, okay. Aside from also having the sword, I can take care of the snakes and the way to Dark Cross. I can lay a bomb and get myself a little bit of idea of where I am once I actually get to Dark Cross and get it faster.
All right, excellent. All right, well, Professor Render, do you have any other questions for our runners here today?
I'm okay.
All right. Well, then I'll give you one last opportunity, Porg, if you wanted to pipe up at all as well. Any last thoughts on this seed?
I wash my hands of the seed. I'm done with it.
All right. I think that's probably a good reminder to everyone to wash your hands of a lot of things these days, and we'll go ahead and get things wrapped up here. So, again, both of these runners, Amarith. Which way do you want me to pronounce it?
Amarith.
Amarith. Okay.
Amarith, however.
Okay.
Okay.
So follow both of these runners. We have Amarith and we have PorgCollector. Their contact information will be there in the chat. Special thanks also to our tracker today. That was Dark Diplomat. So thank you for pushing the buttons and pulling all the strings behind the scene. Thank you to my co-commentator, Professor Render. Thank you for joining me on this broadcast. It's been fun.
It has been fun as well, Quizball.
All right, and if there is nothing else, then I will just give a quick reminder to everyone out there, go ahead and follow the entire network of Speed Gaming channels at Speed Gaming and then Speed Gaming 2 through 6. And until the next spoiler race, you guys have a great evening.
Take it easy.